Hello, everybody. How are we doing today? You got a little midweek surprise. You have me. Give me a big thumbs up in the chat if you can hear me. Give me a big thumbs up in the chat. I don't know if this is, I don't know if this is a good midweek surprise, or if it's a bad midweek surprise. I don't know. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can hear me. I want to make sure that my mic is working. Awesome. Yes, fantastic. Love it. So, today we will be doing... Sherry said, oh, we got Stu today. That's a big W. Yeah, I love it. Ponce de Leon. Don't give me the thumbs down. What I want to tell you is this. If you're giving me the thumbs up in the chat, remember what I want you to do is this. Please do remember to hit that like button. Hit the like button on all of our webinars that you see. So not only this one, even if you're watching this on replay, so if you're not live with me, you're not doing the whole thumbs up, we could hear you thing. Cool, not a problem. Still smash that like button because that helps us, because it tells YouTube that you like me, okay? That's just for our relationship with YouTube and so that YouTube knows you like me. So please do that to help us out, because that is going to be a tremendous help to us. Remember that. Now, without further ado, let's take a look at what the rest of our schedule looks like for the rest of the week. Oh my gosh, might be good or bad news for all of you. But you got me today. We're doing vocabulary, and we're going to have a fantastic time. Tomorrow, Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Pacific, it's going to be contracts with me. And then Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard, we are going to have Facebook Fridays. Patricia said we like you, Stu. Well, I like all you guys too. So listen, I always love coming here. I always love helping you out. So try to make sure that if you are with me in the chat, I am watching it. I am taking a look at it. So if you do have questions, concern, or burning desires, please feel free to type it in the chat. Now, I want to kind of give because I don't usually do a vocab webinar, okay? Usually, this is Joe's thing, right? Joe usually does a lot of the vocab and terminology webinars. Now, what I like to do whenever I do a vocab webinar is I like to tell you my thoughts on vocab, because I don't think that you get a chance to hear it that often. So a lot of you are sitting here saying vocab is amazing. Listen. Do Joe's 5 vocab words. Vocab is super duper uber amazingly important. However, do not mistake it for, hey, if you just do vocab, you're going to win. Nay. You need to do vocab. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. I was working with a student. Yesterday who unfortunately had not passed their exam. So they came to me for private tutoring sessions. Shameless plug. Go on over to prepagent.com. Check out the private tutoring if you're interested in making that a part of your study plan. But what happened was they had just studied vocab. Just vocab. So they knew a lot of the stuff, and they knew a lot of it out of context. But what happened was they hadn't done enough practice exam questions. They actually literally did no other practice exam questions other than vocab. All they did was vocab. Okay? Vocab. And flashcard. And what happens is this. They were really thrown off by the way some of the questions were worded. Now, keep in mind, our questions aren't exactly worded like the test. However, if you've not been in a classroom setting for a while and you haven't gotten exposed to some of the multiple choice questions, you are going to be up Pooh's Creek without a paddle. Okay, you're really not going to be in a situation where you could set yourself up for success. So what happened was this. They had missed the test. They missed a passing by, I think, like 3 or 4 points. And they even said, had I really, did a mix of things, okay, what if I did a mix of all the things, I would have done better. And that's where that student kind of fell short. So I will tell you this. Bottom line is do a little bit of everything. David passed. Love it, David. Congrats. And good luck to everyone else who's taking the test soon. So what happens is this. Just make sure that my dyslexia kicks in every once in a while, so excuse me as I'm trying to manage the words out of my brain. So if you ever hear that on a webinar with me, the brain disconnected from the mouth, and I apologize. So now that I'm back on track, David, congrats. Everyone else who's taking the test, good luck. So I really do. I wish you a lot of luck on that. So what I will tell you is this, okay? What I will tell you is, let's jump into vocab. Let's take a look at the first question. So, Tabitha, your chat is working. Super powerful, strong there, okay? So, Rami, your question was, what is the most desirable test to retain the test? I mean, if you were going to take the test, if you're asking like what kind of location, like a specific location, I don't know, but I always say taking the test in person is the best one. Okay, and that's the situation there. Okay, so let's take a look at the first question. The condensed history of title to a particular parcel of real estate consisting of a summary of the original grant and all subsequent conveyances and encumbrances affecting the property are abstract, lien, plottage, or accession. So what do you say here? What do we say? A lot of you are saying abstract. A is an appley crumbly pie. Yeah, absolutely. So this is abstract, and what I'm going to do is scroll down so that you can see the explanation as well as I talk to you a little bit about this. So a lot of people always get abstract and also chain of title mixed up. So let me ask you this. What is chain of title? What is chain of title? Let's make a differentiation between them. Okay? Let's make a differentiation between chain of title and abstract of title. And also, for those of you who don't know, I'm going to say this. Some of you do know, okay? Some of you do know. And the situation is this, okay? The condensed history of title to a particular property, if you see something highlighted in yellow, you could click it and you could actually get an exact definition of what that is. Kind of give you a little hint, a little clue. So now the other question that I asked you was, what is chain of title? Chain of title is a history of all owners for property. Yes. So that is the situation. It is a complete history of the owners of real property. Okay. It is a complete history of the owners of real property. So abstract contains the conveyances, encumbrances, liens, stuff like that. Okay, it has a list of the what was I going to say? All the conveyances, all the liens, stuff like that. Now, the chain of title is going to be a complete history. It links one owner to the next owner to the next owner to the next owner. So, what won't you see on a chain of title? You won't see encumbrances and liens. Okay. What won't you see on an abstract? You won't see a complete history of the owners going back to the origination of the title, of the deed, okay? So let me ask you this. Did that give you a nice differentiation between the two? Are you understanding the difference between those two? So, Kelly Rice said, I just passed my PSI exam and I'm walking out of the test center as we speak. Oh, well, listen. Congrats to you, and hopefully we have a whole bunch of other people doing that. So a lot of people are saying yes, that definitely cleared it up. Yeah, because that's something where people do get those two confused. So I wanted to make sure that that you understood that. Okay, so let's look at the next question. Stops anyone from taking a position which is in conflict with a previous position or previous action? Oh, I love this question because a lot of you ask me questions about this because you don't understand. So there's the writ of execution, estoppels, commingling, and steering. So, and I have a couple questions coming in while you're answering that, okay? So someone asked, Amy said, why would someone want to check an abstract instead of a chain? They typically pull both. I mean, that's your title company is going to be doing that. I mean, but here's the thing. They're probably a little more concerned with the abstract because that will show liens, encumbrances, and other things affecting the title. And it kind of gives you more of a condensed history, what you're currently looking at. Chain of title would be something that they would check that to see if there's a break in the chain anywhere, if there's anything concerning. That's a pretty quick, easy look. So, I mean, they both are things that if there was an issue with it, it would be concerning, okay? So, that's the situation there. So, this one, everyone's saying is B as in brownie batter. Everyone loves brownie batter, right? B is in brownie batter estoppels. And let me actually clarify and explain to you what it means by that, okay? So, if you took a position, okay, and said, let me give you one that's not real estate related, just kind of maybe if this will help kind of make sense to you. You ready? Let's say I took the position that I told my wife, hey, sweetheart, honey, Mrs. Stu, I'm going to take you to Aruba for your birthday, okay? And she's like, oh my gosh, we're going to Aruba, okay? We're going to Aruba, okay? And then all of a sudden, the week before her birthday comes, you know, she's planning her trip to Aruba. She's sitting there figuring out all the places we're going to go to, and she's, you know, sitting in the bedroom packing up her suitcase, and she's going Aruba, Jamaica. And I said, honey, what are you doing? And she goes, oh, remember you were going to take me to Aruba. And I say, you know what? Nah, I made plans with the guys. I'm going to be going to Vegas. Well, she could sit there and say, because of the doctrine of estoppels, you have already taken a position that you're taking me to Aruba, and you cannot take a future position which is in conflict to that. So I couldn't go to Vegas with the guys. Also, I probably would be divorced by that point. So that's something to kind of keep in your mind. So in regards to real estate, that would be someone like promising that they're going to be selling it to someone. Cats and doghouse. Yeah, I'd have to go buy a new bachelor pad in Vegas, right? So yeah, what I'm saying in real estate though, to make it a real estate correlation, so that you kind of understand, that would be someone like making the promise that they are going to be maybe renting it to someone, and then they're going to sell it to them. Okay, what happens is this: if they then just say, nah, you know what, I'm not going to do that, they could be forced with the doctrine of estoppels to basically say, hey, look, you can't go back in your contradiction. So someone asked, what is the difference between estoppel and ratification? So ratification is just an agreement. It's a fancy word for saying agreement, okay? Some people say that it's a more official agreement, okay? I basically say it's like basically this. What's the difference between saying a greeting and salutations? They're the same. It's just salutations is just kind of like a fancy pants way of saying hello. Okay, so that's basically what it is. It's like basically saying agreement and ratification. Basically, ratification is like the pinkies up, the fancy pants way of saying it. Okay, so. Let me ask you this. What is commingling? That's something that comes up a lot. What is commingling? What is commingling? Ryan, I know it takes a lot of times to pass the test. Don't get discouraged. And that's for anyone taking the test multiple times. Don't get discouraged. Don't. I've had a student who took the test 28 times. Listen, this is not a goal. That is not something that you want to do. But think about things that encourage you. Think about why you took the test in the first place. Why'd you take the test day one? Okay? And this is just, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that I do anything magical or that this is anything that is going to be something that I would say is... anything to put on a pedestal. But bottom line is the test is the test. The test is something that you just need to get through to get your license so that you can start working in the business. So That is, so I always say, think of things that encourage you. Whenever I'm feeling discouraged with something, okay, I think of things that encourage you. Right now, I'm remodeling my whole home office. I am discouraged at the daunting task of doing that. But I'm encouraged when my organizer, yes, I have a professional organizer, when she shows me pictures of what it's going to look like. I'm like, oh man, that's going to be awesome. That's going to be amazing. So think of what encourages you versus being in a state of discouragement. I think that's the best way to look at it, because it's okay to feel discouraged. But what you need to do is you need to focus on the things that encourage you. So I asked you what the question was, is this. Commingling. Commingling is the mixing of clients' monies with your money. So basically, there's two that are really concerning. It would be commingling and conversion. Commingling is the mixing of funds, okay? Is the mixing of funds. And then conversion is going to be converting them, okay, into your own funds. Commingling is mixing. Because think about it. When I say, hey, I'm single and ready to mingle, okay, that's me going out there mixing, okay? Doing my little dance. I'm a horrible dancer. I do the elbows at a 90-degree. My arms stay at a 90-degree angle at all times during a wedding. As soon as a wedding starts, my arms stay at 90 degrees, and that is my position. It doesn't matter what song comes on. I'm at 90 degrees, and I'm having a great time. So I'm ready to mingle out there with everybody. Not single, though. Mrs. Stu wouldn't like that if I said that. But that's what it is. Think of mingling. You're ready to go out there and mingle. You're mixing things up, right? Conversion, you're converting your clients' funds into your own funds. Right? So let's also look at this. What is steering? And this is what I love about vocabulary, because you could get a lot of words in here, okay? You get a lot of words in and kind of, not go through a ton of questions and still get a lot out of it. There's a lot of meat on the bones, I say. So what's steering? What's steering? Someone said my lock screen has photos of my dream car and house components. Yeah, you use that for motivation. You always use money as a motivation. Look, I'm motivated by money, but I'm also motivated by, being able to, to provide for my family, do things. Like I have my family. That's it. Mrs. Stu, we have a beautiful, beautiful life. We live down by the beach, so I can't complain at all. Actually, I could complain, but who wants to listen to me complain? So steering is this. It's basically channeling or directing people to or away from an area, right? It's basically channeling people to or away from an area. And I want to make some very clear distinction, because I was having this conversation the other day with a student, okay? I was having this conversation the other day with a student, and what happens is this. When it comes to steering, it does not have to be, doesn't have to be malice behind it. Watch this, okay? I'm going to give you a scenario, and I'm going to explain to you that it is still steering, but again, no malice behind it. So I have a couple, and they are very, 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 very Catholic. They go to church every single Sunday, and they're better Catholics than me. So then I know, as a real estate agent, like, they didn't come to me and they said, look, tell us an area that you think might work really well for us. And then what happens is, without them saying, hey, we want to be here, hey, we want to be there, what happens is I say to them, you know what, this town is great. And in the back of my mind, I'm saying, they're going to love this town because it has a great Roman Catholic church. It's amazing. I think that they're really going to love it because it just goes with what they're thinking. And then another couple comes in, and let's say I don't even know what religion they are, but let's say I see the last name like Goldberg or something like that, or you see the last name Jacobson, okay? And I'm like, oh man, I don't know if they want to live, near in the Roman Catholic part of town, so maybe I'll put them more in the Jewish part of town. We're gonna show them a home here. That's steering, even though you had good intentions, okay? Good intentions. And then what happens is you definitely would still be steering. Still illegal, okay? In that scenario, still illegal. So Deb Loves Real Estate says, does PSI in the States allow extensions to take tests since they were closed for several months? That is going to be state-specific. State-specific in regards to that, in regards to how long you have, whether it's PSI, Pearson VUE, or a state body that's actually administering it. Like, I think the only two states that administer their own are California and New York State. So that is the situation there. I would personally be contacting whatever your testing body is. So some of them are allowing for extensions, some not. So just keep that in mind. So let's look at the next question. Let's see what else we have here. Oh my gosh, this is a great one. So the outlining of a map of certain high-risk areas for real estate loan purposes. This means lenders will not extend credit for in these areas for real property loans, regardless of the qualifications of the applicant. That is panic selling, blockbusting, steering, or redlining. Yeah, and it looks like a bunch of you are having the questions. And here's the thing: that's why I always tell you, if you are watching this home recording, getting into the chat and doing this live, if you have the time, definitely join us, because as you can see, I'm answering some questions that are maybe not exactly on topic as far as what we're going over, but things that you might have. And I like doing that because I think that a lot of people did have that question as far as just overall. So this one is 100% redlining. Absolutely. So we went over steering already, okay? And we did not go over panic selling or blockbusting. So those two are the same thing. So tell me in the chat, what is panic selling or blockbusting? And Lionel, I'm definitely going to get into a little bit more on redlining as well. So don't you worry about that, okay? So let's start with panic selling or blockbusting. Taylor said, Stu, I take my exam tomorrow. Any tips for me today? Yeah, don't go crazy. Don't go crazy. Okay. I think that overdoing it is too much. Okay. So blockbusting deals with basically blockbusting or panic selling has to do with inducing fear of a protected class moving in or out of an area. Okay. In or out of an area. Okay. And then the other one is going to be redlining or redlining. We'll go into that in a second, but let me just dive a little deeper into blockbusting. You have to be inducing fear of a protected class moving in or out of an area. So there's questions on the test where, and here's the thing, and I'm going to bring up an interesting point, and I'm going to make sure that you understand what I'm saying when I say it. I'm saying a protected class. So if there is a fair housing protected class, okay, in your state, then what happens is if they are a member of that protected class and you are inducing fear in someone to sell because of a protected class moving in or out of an area, that is panic selling. If you just tell them now's a great time to buy or sell, and a protected class happens to be moving into an area or out of an area, that's not panic selling, okay? It's when you bring fear into it of that protected class moving in or out, okay? So you have to, there is a fine line between that, but there is a differentiation, okay? There is a differentiation because here's the thing. Areas, markets are always in flux, okay? There's always demographic shifts, demographic changes. And what happens is this. Saying that, like, you can't market to an area because there's a demographic change is basically like saying, well, then, like, you could never market. You can never market to homes and say, hey, sell now. Okay, then everything would be considered blockbusting, right? But it's when you say, you know, like it happened to me in one of the towns I owned a home in, where a real estate agent came to me and said, you know, this town isn't what it used to be. You know, we used to have all blanks here, and now the blanks are moving in. And accurate, it was totally accurate. There was a demographic shift, okay? And it was logical as to why. But what happened was they were then telling me to sell because of the demographic shift. They were not saying to me, hey, you know, if you're looking to buy or sell, now's a great time. So you have to be cognizant of that in the test questions because they will ask that, okay? So they will ask that. Now, redlining, going a little more into redlining. So, redlining is an illegal practice that has to do with lending and insuring that mortgage companies or insurance companies are basically going to not make it possible for people in certain areas to get loans. So basically, that's where they would say, if you look at it historically, this is listen to me very clearly on this. I'm not getting political at all. I'm simply telling you what is the history of redlining. And what happens is it used to be a practice that wasn't illegal, and it carved out and created basically sections and pockets of things where there was disparities in income mobility because people weren't because they lived there and they couldn't get home loans. It created situations where they couldn't get out of that little rut, and it was something that was seen to be unfair. Okay, it was seen to be an issue with fair housing where people weren't equally treated in the United States. So that's what redlining is. It's denying the services of mortgages or insurances that are geographically based and not qualifications based. Okay, so that's the situation there. So give me a thumbs up if you like that explanation, a little deeper dive into both of those. And someone asked in the chat, does each state's real estate commission determine how many questions are on the national section of the exam? Yeah. That is definitely something that happens. They decide how many questions are in the test period. That's the governing body. Okay, there. So, Lionel, I'm glad you said great because I know you had a question about explaining it further. So I wanted to give a little bit of a better explanation there. So love it. Dab, yeah, dab, absolutely. Okay. So let's look at the next question. A term for a loan given to borrowers with bad credit history. Okay, that. Because they are higher risk, therefore the lenders tend to try to minimize them. What is this? Is this a takeout loan? And let me actually scroll down a little bit. Is it a takeout loan, an interim loan, long-term loan, or substandard loan? What do we got for this one? What do we got here? What do we got? So, what this is this. It's going to be substandard loans. Absolutely. Because guess what? Okay. Someone said substandard loans too. Yeah. It's basically below standards. It's below what the lender standards would be. All right. So that's the situation there. And yes, the lenders do try to minimize these. They don't try to give these out like candy, okay? They do take a percentage of them, okay? They do take a percentage of them. But it's something that they try to not make all their products substandard. So let's keep it moving. Let's keep it grooving, okay? So subprime is sometimes what they would refer to it. Yeah, it depends on what market you're in and what vernacular is used. And understand this. The way that I say things and the way that maybe Cynthia does or the way that Joe does are going to be questions, are going to be ways that we explain it, okay? That basically, there might be another way to explain it that might be similar. The vernacular, the verbiage might be different. So I really want you to understand that, be open-minded to different ways that it could be said. Yeah, so subprime would be another way there. So first thing is the question, the ownership of land for the duration of a person's life. Life estate, estate at will, defeasible estate, or a fee simple estate, okay? So it is a life estate. So we're going to talk about that for a second. And someone said, how accurate are these to the test as far as questions? Now, I always kind of steer away from that question, but I'll kind of give you the point blank blunt answer to that. They're not designed to be exact replicas of the tests. These are designed to be teaching tools, okay? To, number one, get you to understand concepts out of context, and number two, get you to be familiar with seeing these concepts in context in some scenario-based situations so that you could get used to using what you know to get yourself to a point where you're applying it to a question. So basically, this is like simulation kind of stuff, where what we do is we try to get you to understand the concept, put it into context, and make sure that whatever way they do throw it to you at the test, it's simple, okay? So that's really what the goal is of this. So if you're looking at this, and that's why, listen, whatever testing questions you get, or whatever exam prep stuff you do, hopefully you only do Prep Agent because we're fantastic, okay? What happens is this. Don't look at it to be prepping you exactly for the questions on the test. This is to help you understand the material, understand the vocabulary, and be able to apply it to however they're going to word the questions on the test, which are tricky, and they are stuff that they're not published. Sometimes in the Facebook group, you guys remember a couple things. I go over some stuff on Facebook Friday. I do my best there. But again, don't look for an exact one-to-one replica. And also, if you're doing that, you're doing the studying wrong. You want to learn the material and learn the concepts out of context. Like Joe's 5 words a day, that's going to get you further than exam questions, okay? So, life estate. That is ownership based on the life of someone or something, okay? It's based on the life of someone or something, okay? So, that is what a life estate is. So now, listen to what I'm going to tell you. The first thing in that was it's ownership. Okay? It's ownership. Okay? So, ownership, you can sell it, lease it, stuff like that. You could do all that stuff. But once the person whose life it's based on passes away, it reverts back. Okay? So, the other things that I want to go over are what is fee simple estate. Okay. What is fee simple estate? So fee simple is the highest form of ownership you have. It is going to be only limited by laws. Like basically the government powers are the only thing that's going to stop you from doing anything. And so actually, your 3 freehold estates are here in the answers. And then the last one is a defeasible estate or fee determinable, which is, the word defeasible is basically means that it could be defeated. So what that is that's ownership that's based on a condition. Like, let's say I give you ownership of a storefront, and I say, what was I going to say? And I say to you, you cannot sell alcohol here. All right. Then what happens is this. If you do decide to sell alcohol, then what happens is the ownership would revert back to me. Okay. So that's fee defeasible. There's a condition. Lisa said for life estate. So if I sell my life estate that was given to me by my grandmother, when she goes, does this go back to her? So it would be, so if it was based on the life of your grandmother, it would have to, that's a confusing question because what happens is this. Usually in a life estate, they don't give you a life estate based on their life unless they name someone that would go to in remainder. Okay? So, yes, what happens is this. I'm going to kind of paraphrase your question and I'm going to answer it in the simplest way possible. Okay? The life estate, that ownership is always going to be based on whoever's life it's based on. So whenever they die, and whatever's going to happen with it, whether it goes back to the original grantor in reversion, or it goes to someone else as remainder, then whenever that person whose life it's based on dies, then that's it. Done. It's going to do what it's supposed to do. Now, so that probably sits there, and you're probably saying to yourself, well, why would someone want to buy a life estate? Okay. So that is the situation there. It's basically, What happens with the life estate, and if you're asking why, it doesn't really make sense to probably buy or sell a life estate. You have to be a really special, unique situation. So, the situation is that the life estate is the type of ownership that's being sold, and whatever happens is what's going to happen once that person whose life it's based on dies. So Lisa says, so whoever it is sold to loses out. It depends. I mean, why would they buy it in the first place knowing that, unless there's a super special circumstance. So I don't know if it's necessarily losing out as opposed to there's a very special, unique situation for why they purchased it in the first place. So, it does exactly what it's intended to do, and it's very clear as to what it's going to do. It's just a matter of, if you enter into that, there is, I believe, a circumstance for almost everything. Okay. So Lakeisha said, it's not knowing the definition. Sometimes it's the questions are just all over the place. Can we go over some of those tricky practice questions? That's a great question. And that kind of leads me to another one where someone asked earlier, they said, what is Facebook Friday? And on that, I'm going to go to our webinar schedule and wrap up for today. So the situation is this. Can we go over some of those tricky questions? Usually in Facebook Friday, I go over questions that you submit in the Facebook group. So if you go back through some of my Facebook Fridays, you'll see a lot of them are not questions from Facebook. From Prep Agent. They're questions that you're just asking in the Facebook group. So if you aren't a member of our Prep Agent Real Estate Exam Study Group, join. There's over 40,000 of you now, and it's a great community where you're asking some of the trickier questions, maybe from some of the tests that you could remember, or some of the questions that you're getting from your schools, things like that. So the Facebook group is going to be Prep Agent Real Estate Exam Study Group. So if you just type in Prep Agent Real Estate, you'll be able to see that. So that's where I go over some of and you could go back through some of my past Facebook Fridays. So you just type in Facebook, and basically Facebook Friday is like the tricky question stuff, the stuff that you guys are asking in the chat, in all that stuff. And Jerry, I'm not doing amortization on Friday because whenever I do anything national, I don't do any math. So I save my math for specific math ones. So if you want an amortization table one, you can go right back through the chat and you can see you can just type into the previous webinars amortization, boom, it'll come up. There's a bunch of them. I've done a bunch of amortization table questions. So that's the situation there. So let's look at the rest of the schedule for the week. Again, just a reminder, if you haven't hit that like button already, what I'll tell you is this, okay? No math on California. What I'll tell you is this. Please hit the like button for me. That helps us out. Even if you are, okay? Even if you are watching on replay. Please do that, okay? So, Thursday, what I'll tell you is this. 7 p.m., 4 p.m. Pacific. We're going to be doing contracts with me. And then Friday is everyone's favorite Friday. It's Facebook Friday. We're going to be doing that at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's where we go through your questions, your concerns, your burning desires, whatever it is in the Facebook group. I try to tackle it then. So without further ado, I want to tell you this. Have a great, wonderful, fantastic rest of your day, and I will talk to you real soon.